altimeter and your transponder are being tested in a correlation test to make sure what's being reported is being reported properly. Now, it's a dynamic test, meaning when you check the correlation, your pedostatic test equipment is actually ascending, it's climbing in altitude, so it's a dynamic test, not a static test, it's dynamic. And when you get to certain altitudes, it has to be reporting that altitude to within 50 feet on the way up. And then on the way down, it has to do the same. It has to be reporting to within 50 feet on the way down. So let's say the point in question was 5,000 feet. I want to test to make sure my system is reporting properly at 5,000 feet above sea level. Remember the old idea of hysteresis? On the way up, your altimeter would hang low. So on the way up, the reporting can hang a little bit low. So let's say when you're approaching 5,000 feet, the report coming out of the transponder is 4,930. Well, that would fail. But a 4,970 would pass because it's within 50 feet. It's within 50 feet of 5,000 feet. On the way down, when the transponder reports and the test equipment picks it up, let's say it reports at 5,060 feet. It spits out 5,000. It just failed. Okay, but if it reports it at 5,020 feet, yeah, it's with that 20 feet is within. If it's reporting, it's within 20 feet of 5,000. Okay, so there's a window, but this is a dynamic test. Okay, and you for the test equipment, you have to set your climb rate at a specific amount and your descent rate at a specific amount to make sure it's reporting properly. Because it's pretty important when you're flying on the Victor Airways in the sky, and aircraft are only separated by a few hundred feet every once in a while, or maybe 1,000 feet, that everything is reporting correctly. Good. Okay, that takes care of that part. Okay, now let's get rid of that for a second. And go to not what I want. Okay, so I gave you a handout that looked like this. Transponders. So everything we've talked about so far has been covered on this first page of this handout. Okay, all of that stuff has been covered, including, this stuff here, 7500 is a hijacking, 7600 is a comm failure, 7700 is an onboard emergency, and so on and so forth. So we've talked about everything on this page here, but we haven't necessarily gotten into this idea of these newer transponders, these Mode S transponders. Right there. And just find the edit here. Where's edit? Okay. So let's look at this for a second. Way back in 1992, that's a long time ago, there became a legal requirement for all new aircraft to be equipped with a special transponder called a Mode S transponder. That was a long time ago. The S stands for select, so Mode Select transponder. And they say the development of this Mode S transponder has taken some time, but in 1992, it became a reality. Well, it became a reality for some people in the United States, okay, as they seem to have gotten on board with that first. The it says the major reason for the development of the Mode S transponders was to eliminate some of the problems associated with the air traffic control radar beacon system, such as fruiting and synchronous garble. So that's what they're talking about, is they're seeing stuff on their screen. It's really what we're talking about. It's garbly-goop. Okay, it's false reporting, and it's ground clutters, people testing transponders on the ground and whatnot. And they say, you know, how many available codes are there? There's only 4,096 codes. So that means if they're complaining about the number of available codes, there must be a lot of aircraft flying in the sky. So they said, yeah, so we need something more than just a regular Mode AEC transponder. So this Mode S transponder, first and foremost, allows now for aircraft identification without the need for voice communication. So that means, you know, air traffic control doesn't necessarily have to talk on the radio to get your call sign, get your ID. The Mode S transponder is going to be able to provide that through a ground air data link. So that's what's first and foremost nice about a Mode S transponder. It's going to allow now for an individual aircraft to respond to a discrete interrogation and even gather data such as weather service information, airport service information, runway surface winds, and so on and so forth, without the need for an air traffic controller to voice communicate that with you. So it says no longer will the ground controller even need voice communication to provide for things like altitude, heading, type of aircraft, etc. And that's all going to happen with this new Mode Select transponder. One of the first heartaches they had associated with the Mode S transponder is how are they going to do some of this stuff? They said each aircraft is going to have a Mode S transponder that will somehow squawk its own unique code. And the code that's given to your own personal unique transponder, unique to your aircraft, the code will be etched onto a PROM. You're saying, what's a PROM? Well, it's a programmable read-only memory chip. And they're saying, okay, but don't we change transponders if they break? Like, don't we have to replace them when they break? And the answer is yeah. So how's that going to work if the unique code associated to my transponder is programmed into my transponder by nature of a PROM? They got thinking about it and they said, okay, we're going to have to figure out how to do that. It says maybe we can attach, something on the back of the transponder's radio tray to make a transponder automatically configure. And that's what they ended up doing. Okay. They call it strapping. So your transponder plugs into a tray. Okay. And the tray has basically a way of talking to the pins in the transponder, okay, because it's either an edge connector or it's a D-sub connector. But what they do is with some strapping, they strap certain pins on the radio tray. They say, okay, when the transponder gets plugged into this particular radio tray, the unique identification code is going to the PROM's still going to be in the transponder, but the way the PROM is going to get programmed is via the external strapping. What do you mean external strapping? Okay, when I tie a pin to a ground, when I tie it, let's say a certain pin in the sub-D connector to a ground, the ground is a 0 in binary. If I don't tie a pin to a ground, the pin assumes a high state. So we can create, with basically external strapping, we can create highs and lows. So when a transponder is plugged into the tray and it sees the strapping, it will self-configure based on that external strapping. It will configure the unique code that it needs to have to represent your aircraft. Okay, and that's what this says. In the event of a transponder change, the transponder interfaces with the chip, and it does that through the external strapping. And the aircraft is still identified by its unique algorithm. And that unique algorithm, first and foremost, is sending your identification. It's really sending your aircraft registration number, your Charlie, Foxtrot, Oscar, Bravo, Sierra. And again, this is all happening without an air traffic controller ever needing to contact you for that. As soon as you get into the zone, okay, your transponder will report who you are to air traffic control. So it says, here's how it works. An aircraft entering the air traffic control zone, says the aircraft will be interrogated by ground control. Ground control does it on a cycling basis. Mode A into the sky first, mode C into the sky, followed by a mode S interrogation. So it's always doing mode A, mode C, mode S, mode A, mode C, mode S. If your aircraft is old school and it's only equipped with mode A capability, that transponder will only reply with mode A answers, meaning code switch identification. If your aircraft has mode C capability, it means it has altitude reporting, it has either a blind encoder or an encoding altimeter, then that particular transponder, provided it's in ALT mode, will respond with both mode A code switch identification and mode C altitude reporting. Okay, but those are the older transponders. However, if your aircraft is now equipped with the newer mode S transponder, the transponder will respond to mode S directly. Now, what's so nice about mode S? Well, in mode S, the first thing that air traffic control gets, first contact, is deemed a new aircraft into the zone, and it's answering an all call. And any aircraft with a mode S transponder that's listening will respond, and it'll respond with its unique algorithm, which we now know is the aircraft's registration. Okay. And so the ATC then knows the mode S transponder and replies to, because it replied to the all call interrogation. So your ground station air traffic control is now fully aware of your aircraft's identity without ever having to talk to you about putting a code into your transponder. They already know who you are. Okay, and again, this is because all mode S transponders have a unique address that is initiated by the external strapping on the radio tray. Now, very much like your 406 ELTs, your 406 ELTs had to be registered. Your transponders have to be, the mode S transponders have to be registered, because that code, that unique algorithm code, is unique to your particular aircraft. It's squawking your identification, your, country of origin, and your and your call sign. So it has to be registered. I won't get into the rest of that, but it did talk about how this is just more, it's more than just delivering your registration, a mode S transponder. It's also a data link system that can talk to air traffic control about other things, about ADIS broadcast and other information. Okay, so that takes care of that. So I wanted you to have that, because these aren't in the PowerPoint's notes. Some of this might be on the exam as far as the mode S transponder. Mode S transponder is a big deal. Good. Okay, so we'll leave that at that. Right there. Okay, so what's on the agenda so far? So let's think about quizzes. So in case you didn't notice, a quiz went on iLearn on Friday for VOR and ILS. And ILS includes localizer, glide slope, and marker beacon. Some people have already completed it. Congratulations to those folks. Again, you have 2 attempts on this quiz. And just looking by the numbers of the folks who have done it, the results are looking good. I think there's 34 questions, and a lot of people have in the 30s already, even after one attempt. So good job on that. That quiz will stay open until next week, Monday's night. So I'll remind folks again Monday. Hopefully I won't have to remind you, because by Monday you'll have already had that done. Okay. We've also finished today the Advanced Avionics Systems worksheet, which I believe last week we took up flight data recorders, cockpit voice recorders. Today we did ACARS, aircom, selective calling, and SATCOM. So at the end of this week, Friday, I will put up a quiz for Advanced Avionics Systems for those particular systems we took up that are in that handout. And that'll stay up for a week. And that one's relatively easy. I may only give one shot at that. Yeah. So lots on the agenda. Don't procrastinate when stuff goes up. Okay, try to do it in a reasonable timeline, so that you don't get bogged down with stuff at the end of the week. Because I know all the other professors are giving you quizzes as well. Okay, so don't procrastinate in life. And unless there's any pressing questions, I will see section 4, I believe, at 12:30. Anybody have any questions? Okay, good.